Okay, problem number 4. We're still trying to make opposites. Now, the last couple equations, we've only had to multiply one equation. Now we have to multiply 2 equations to make opposites, all right? So you got to ask yourself, what's the first number the x values have in common, and what's the first number that the y values have in common? Well, 3 and 4, the first number they have in common would be 12. So I'd have to make opposite 12s. 2 and 3, the first number they have in common is 6. So I have to make opposite 6s. Okay, sweet. Let's go with that. Now they keep the numbers the same. That's okay, because then you can just use subtraction. I like to just straight up make the opposites. That's why it's easier to begin with. So if they're both positive, I would multiply one by a positive and one by a negative. So if I were to mess with their work, instead of multiplying by a 3 and a 2, I actually would probably multiply by a negative 2. That way it'd make a negative 8x, a negative 6y, and then a positive 4. And then, oh look, opposites cancel. 9x minus 8x would be an x, and then 3 and a 4 put together would be 7. I think it's pretty much the same thing they got. They got the 7 right there. Yeah, there you go. Plug in the 7, do math. So same thing. I just like to make opposites, all right, just so I get good at that habit. Okay, it's a good habit to get into. So look for opposites and then make them. Okay, so analyze the x values, analyze the y values, what's the first number they have in common, and then make that number opposite. Okay, next one. Boom, here we go. So it looks like we basically have the exact same problem. Now I'm going to go for a scale point here. What is the first number that 4 and 3 have in common? Well, 12. And the first number that 3 and 2 have in common is 6. Okay, so go with the easier number, but I'm going to go for a scale point here. Okay, I'm going to try to do it with the bigger, larger number. So what should I do? Well, they're both positive, so I got to take 1 times a negative and 1 times a positive. So I'm going to go ahead and just go for it here. Okay, so how can I make 4 into a 12? I'm going to triple this equation, and then I want to make this a negative 12, so I got to take this times a negative 4. Oops, sorry, my lights turned off. Clap on. Sometimes the lights turn off when I sit in my chair too long. All right, so that's what I'm going to go for. I'm going to make opposite 12s. Now, normally I would say make opposite 6s because it's more efficient, it's a smaller number, but I'm just going to show you that it works regardless. Okay, so let's rewrite here. Top thing times a 3, so that's going to make a 12x. Good start, plus a 9y, and that's going to equal a negative 57, I believe. Okay, and then I'm going to take the bottom one times 4, negative 12x. Ooh, nice, isn't that lovely? And then we're going to have a positive 8y, because a negative times a negative is a positive, and that's going to equal a positive 40. Okay, there you go, double check my math. I think I'm good to go. Okay, hey, look, I made opposites. So a little bit of mental math on the front end, a little bit of math trickery, and I've got opposites. Now I just combine what's left over and do math. So we have a 9y and an 8y. That's going to be a 17y. That's going to equal a negative 57 plus a 40. I think that's just negative 17. Wasn't that nice? Inconvenient. Y equals a negative 1. Okay, I've got one of them. Now I can use negative 1 to find x. I could plug it into any of these equations, the original 2 or the 2 upgraded ones. It doesn't matter. Eeny, meeny, I'm going to pick the top one. So I'm going to pick the 4x plus the 3 times negative 1. I'm going to substitute in right away. Equals a negative 19. That's a negative 3. Equaling a negative 19. Plus 3. Plus 3. 4x is going to equal, looks like it's going to be a negative, what do you know, 16. Divided by 4, divided by 4. X is going to equal a negative 4. So there we go. Negative 4, negative 1. Solution found. Again, what am I doing? I'm trying to make opposites so they can cancel, because when they cancel, there's really not a whole lot of work you need to do. So look for those opposites. Analyze the x values and the y values. Which set of those will be easier to make opposites? And even if you pick the wrong one or the not as easy one, you can still solve it, okay, as I just showed you. Okay, goodbye.